Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog Podcast. Now, this time I'm going to be talking about the Time Machine. That's the latest of the Big Finish classic range. Now, you're a Doctor Who fan out there. At least that's why I assume you're listening to this. And you've probably heard the odd Big Finish, but that's not always the case. But you might, just might, be familiar with H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. Really? I thought you might have heard of it. Basically, it's the story of a man in the Victorian times who invents a time machine, travels to the future, comes back and tells his stories. That's it. Now, obviously, this is, apparently, according to the History of Science Fiction book that I had on my shelf when I was a kid, the very first time that there's a time travel story involving a machine. A lot of people use time travel stories, yes, I'll grant you that, but they use magic and other such things. This is the first one where it's an actual time machine, a craft, a car. Yes, the spurious pseudoscience of 3- and 4-dimensional geometry that explains how time machines works, fair enough. And yes, we all know that there would be a galactic centre and all sorts of stuff about movement and things, which is why the shit... It doesn't matter. If you want to be picky about time travel, you can be. It's not a problem. And let's face it, being pedantic is one of the things that we're very good at. But let's not do that. Let's talk about something that I can only describe as a bloody marvellous story. You know what? This story means a lot to me. Mainly because when I was a kid, obviously I had War of the Worlds on LP, and then I had Hitchhiker's Guide, and I had a love of audio drama and a small cassette player. And one of the things that was given to me, as well as Journey to the Centre of the Earth, read by John Pertwee, was Johnny Tomorrow, and another thing was a Time Machine adaptation. It was one of those read-along book things. That, and the Rod Taylor version, that's the George Powell 1950s movie, where, yes, they've taken current political aspects and changed it and added it here, all influence you. And yes, the fact that the time traveller himself, who's a bit of a narcissist, and he's very self-centred, but you don't realise that until you look back and view the character, because all he is driven, and that's perceived as a good thing. Look, you know the story. You've seen lots of versions. You've seen that terrible one from the early 2000s with a lovely time machine. I'll grant you that. It looked gorgeous, but its heart was wrong. Its heart was missing, and perhaps that's because they were trying to stick with the original, or at least tinker with other bits. With these Big Finish classics, they've tried to stay as true and as pure to the originals as you can manage. And they've managed it perfectly. It's a glorious piece of narrative. If you've been toying with the idea of possibly getting some of these Big Finishes, well, this one's definitely one worth shelling out the cash for, because it's great. Now, with your narrative in your actual story, that's the book, you have got the story of the time traveller relayed over, and you don't have the character as a name. He's always called the Traveller, which always gives you some small problems. In Time After Time, the time traveller themselves is H.G. Wells. In this version, H.G. Wells is the person being told the story to. So what we've got is almost an audio book, but we've also got a massive piece of audio drama, and within the audio drama is a tale within a tale. And the tale is the tale of the time traveller visiting the future, meeting the Eloi, discovering the Morlocks, losing his time machine, the cannibals which are descended from the working class, and the Eloi which are feet and end up being eaten. And you already know all of this. But the one piece that's always usually missing from most adaptations is the bit that happens between the time traveller leaving and him coming back and then going on another trip. It's the bit with the heat death of the universe, the end of the sun, that business, taking current science fiction almost in a bid-median type way and applying it onto his narrative. Well, it's all here, the far distant future, and everything seems so bleak. So, if you want to hear a fantastic adaptation of a particularly good and massively influential story, then this is for you. If you're not interested, then I don't really know why you're into Doctor Who, because this, and The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and a host of other things, is where it comes from. So why not give in to the past and experience an absolute classic? There's a reason they're called Big Finish Classics after all. So here's the trailer, and I'll let you decide for yourself. But as far as I'm concerned, I'll be revisiting this one sooner rather than later, and then time after time. See? Lots of puns. Or is it just plays on words? Either way, be seeing you.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions.
I was in my laboratory at 4 o'clock that afternoon. And since then, between 4 and dinner time, I have lived out 8 days. Such days as no human being ever lived before.
H.G. Wells, The Time Machine.
Yes. Yes, thank you. How do you do? No, please don't pull my clothes. These are mine. Good grief. That's not far off 1 million years. Yes, I know. Well, nearly. A different age or epoch. Uweena, listen to me.
I want to know if...
No, not fruit. Listen.
Listen.
About the world below. The tunnels. The dark world.
Darkness.
What's that? Ah! Damnation! The panels! Who are you? Where are you from? Ah! Damnation! Where's my machine? Uweena! Uweena!
Be thou Morlock. Be thou now all.
Big Finish. We love stories.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.